Hi, get out your notebook and something to write with and get ready to take some notes. These are the 4 new terms that we're going to talk about today. The first is a box and whisker plot, and a box and whisker plot is a display that shows the distribution of data along a number line. It's constructed from a 5-number summary, which includes the following things: the least value, the lower quartile, which we'll talk about in a minute, the median, which is the middle number when the numbers are all put in order, the upper quartile we'll talk about in a minute, and the greatest value. So before you even make a box and whisker plot, you should write down this 5-number summary before you even start to make your box and whisker plot. What quartiles are is they're sections that are, it's when you divide the data into 4 equal parts or sections. And when you look at this, the first part, quart, means 4, so we're dividing it into 4 equal parts or sections. The lower quartile is the median of the lower half of the numbers, and the upper quartile is the median of the upper half of the numbers. And we'll go through this with an example. This here is what a box and whisker plot looks like. We have the least value, and then we have the lower quartile, which makes up the lower part of the box, the median, which is the line somewhere inside the box, the upper quartile, which makes the end of the box, and then we have the greatest value. The boxes are connected to the greatest and least value with a whisker. Now, what you need to know about the data is because it's divided into 4 equal sections, 25% of the data falls between the least value and the lower quartile, 25% falls in here, 25% falls between the median and the upper quartile, and 25% falls here. So the smaller the section, that means the numbers are repeated or numbers are closer together. The bigger the section, like this section right here, just means that the numbers are spread farther apart or there's a bigger range in numbers. These are the steps for making a box and whisker plot. If you want to stop the video and copy these down, you may go ahead and do so. Otherwise, I'm going to walk through these steps with you as we do the first problem. So the first step that we need to do is we need to, well, read the problem first. The data below represents the wingspans in centimeters of captured birds. Make a box and whisker plot. So the first thing we need to do after reading the problem is put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So the smallest number looks like it's 21. So I have 21, another 21, there's a 22, 29, so we have a 28, 29. Looks like the next biggest number is 33, and then, oops, we have a 35 here. And the 40 that I just crossed off right here, and then 49, and 54. We have 2 61s. Helps to cross these off because then you know that you've got all the numbers. 62, and then the last 2 numbers are 72 and 75. Let's squeeze that 75 in there. Okay. So we need to write down what our 5-number summary is. So we need to know the minimum, which is pretty easy to tell. The smallest number is 21. We need the lower quartile, the median. We're going to have to do some work to figure out the next 3. The upper quartile, and then the maximum, which I believe the biggest number was 75. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to define the median. Now that the numbers are in order, we just use hack and slash, hack and slash, hack, slash, hack, slash, hack, slash, hack, slash, hack, slash, hack, slash. Here we have a number in the middle. This number is the median, so I'm going to write this down, 40. Now we're going to find the lower quartile. So the lower quartile is the median or the middle number in the lower half of the number. So we start with the 21 and 35. We just start below 40 and we start hacking and slashing until we get to the middle number, which is 28. Then we're going to do the same thing to find the upper quartile with the upper numbers or the numbers above the median. And the middle number here is 61. So now that we have our numbers, we're going to draw a number line. And the lowest number is 20, the biggest number is 70. So we could probably count by 5. So if we had 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Okay. So now we're going to start with the minimum, and we're going to make a point where the minimum is. And then the lower quartile is 28, which is almost at 30. I'm going to make a line there because I know that's going to be part of the box. Then the median is at 40. And the upper quartile is at 61. And the maximum is at 75. So what we're going to do is connect these 3 lines together to make our box, and then we make our whisker. Of course yours would look better because you're going to use a ruler. So what this means then is 25% of the data is here, and if we look at this, look at the numbers are in between 21 and 22, so the 3 numbers are very close together. Our next section of numbers are range between 29 and 35, so this is a bit bigger. 25% of the numbers fall in this section. Then our next section, they range from 49 to 61, which is a pretty big range. So 25% of the numbers fall in here, and that's why it's a little bigger, because you have a bigger range between the numbers. And then between 62 and 75, there are another 25% of the numbers. And again, that's a little bigger because it's a bigger range. This has a range of 1. This has a range of, 6. This has a range of 12. And this has a range of 13. So there is a, that's why some sections are a little bigger than others. So let's look at the data box in this box and whisker plot and describe it. What can we say about this? We can say that the lowest number is 55 because that's the minimum value. So that's the lowest value. We can say the highest value or the maximum value is 85. We can say that 50% of the data falls below 76% or is between 55 and 76%, and 50% of the data is between 76 and 85%. So here's some other things that you can say. The lowest score is 55, the highest is 85, 1/4 of the scores are at or below 66%, and 1/4 of the scores are at or above 80. So this here is 1/4 or 25%, and here 1/4 and 25%. So there must have been a lot of kids that had the score between 80 and 85 because it's a smaller region, where these were a little bit more sporadic and spread out. Half of the scores are at or between 66 and 80%. So this is where half or 50% of the scores fall. And that means they're 10 points within the median, which is 76. So that's kind of how you interpret a box and whisker plot. Here's another box and whisker plot. This is a double one where they're comparing prices for the same items at Mary's discount store and Ed's clothing store, and what kind of conclusions can we come up with. And if we look at this here, 50, if we line this up here, 50% of the items are less expensive than 25% of the items at Ed's. So over half of the items are cheaper than the bottom 25%. Almost 50% of the items are more expensive at Ed's than they are at Mary's. This here, $65 is the most expensive item, where the most expensive item at Ed's is $90. The cheapest item at Mary's is $10, where the cheapest item at Ed's is a little less than $20. So we can compare even this here, 75 per this here, 75% of the items are as much or less expensive than 50% of the items at Ed's. So we can compare by looking at just how the percentages are broken up. So that's all for today. If you have questions, bring them to class with you tomorrow. Thanks, and have a great night.